role in that.
Yeah. And what people's role from the mind they describe but without so getting so overwhelmed by their suffering.
Because that's not.
No. And there's a whole idea in society that you have to suffer. If you're not suffering,
You can't be compassionate. Yeah. No.
in the Buddhist, bodhisattvas are the idea of beings and they're joyful. They're going on.
Good things to remember. Thank you. I think. You're ready? I think you're ready.
Heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Hardly know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. We are going. Heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. We will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good morning. Welcome, and thank you for being here. I have to tell you, I'm going to say my name is David Boos. It's an honor to be your lay leader here this morning. But to stand here and listen to that welcome song build as people come in and join the singing, and we get new harmonies, it's this amazing expression of community coming together. So it really is an honor for me to be up here and hear that. I hope at some point, or when you're sitting where you are, you can also experience some of that. So thank you for bringing that. Thank you, Deb, for the choice of music. Anyway, personal reflections aside for later. Good morning and welcome. As I said, my name is David Boos. I have the honor of being your lay leader this morning. I also have the great honor of sharing the podium with one of our favorite special guests, Venerable Thupten Chodron. Venerable Chodron is the abbess of Sravasti Abbey in Newport, Washington, and she and a number of nuns and other associates of the Abbey made the trip down to be with us this morning. They have brought books and other materials that they have on the back table there if you would like to get more information about the Abbey and the work of the nuns there. Please avail yourself of that during our coffee hour. We also have quite an assortment of musical instruments up here, and that means that we also have Susan Jane Hall and Dario Ray here with us this morning to provide music for us. They also are relatively frequent visitors to our sanctuary, and their contributions to this morning's service are amazing, so something to look forward to. I have a few quick reminders. First of all, our Board of Trustees is holding an information and listening session on security here at the church this morning. So following this service and a light lunch that will be served after the service, the board is available to listen to your concerns about security at the church. And we encourage you to come share your concerns, hear the perspectives of others, and be part of that conversation. So that's at 12:45 today, again, after a light lunch. Second reminder, we are looking for contributions to our annual fall community auction. This is our church's largest fundraiser. It's also a lot of fun. So if you have skills you can teach, getaways or educational opportunities you can offer, any other kind of community building experience or activity, please contribute that, let people know by October 1st. So we have to have all the contributions in by October 1st. October 13th is the potluck luncheon where we open the bidding on all of those activities, and you can begin to put your name down for those that you are interested in. So put that on your calendar as well. Finally, we're facing a bit of an existential crisis at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. We don't have anybody to make coffee next Sunday. It's bad. Alan, who has been generously making coffee for us for the last many months, is not able to be here. So if you are willing, there are instructions and picture guides and everything. If you are willing next Sunday to make coffee for one or both of the services, please talk to Heather after the service today, or send her a quick email so that we can get that position filled. Thank you. We are the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane. We're that here every Sunday. And we're that out in our homes and our schools and our communities and our hiking trails and anywhere we are all of the rest of our days. And if you're joining us through our streaming service this morning, thank you for being the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane wherever you are. We are who we are because of what we do. And what we do is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in the wider world. Or, as we say in short, create community, find meaning, and work for justice. You know that we need many hearts and minds and hands and bodies to do that work. So we welcome everyone here. We value all of who you are, not in spite of your differences, but because of our differences. Because your unique background and perspectives and experiences don't just bring new ideas, but bring new questions and new motivations and potential solutions to those issues that we're facing. So whether you're here every Sunday, only occasionally, if this is your first time here, we're very glad you're here, and you are most welcome. So let's take a few moments to express that welcome to one another this morning, and while you're at it, say thank you for being here. As usual, there will be plenty of time for continued welcome and gratitude during our coffee hour in the Friendship Hall after the service. For now, we'll turn from our informal greeting of one another to formally begin our service by lighting our chalice. The chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the symbol of our unity and solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need. And may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt where it's been found. His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, has said, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. But what does it mean to practice compassion? We often think of compassion as something you feel, an emotion of caring. Passion, which is obviously part of the word compassion, suggests strong positive feelings towards someone or something. So it makes sense that compassion would also imply caring for someone. But throughout most of its history, and at its root, passion has a very different meaning from the one that we normally use. In its Latin origins, and for many centuries after its origin, passion meant suffering, and specifically the suffering of Jesus in his final days. Compassion means to suffer with someone. This puts a different frame on what it means to practice compassion. If compassion means suffering with, then practicing compassion can't just mean giving care and support from a detached point of view. If compassion means suffering with, it has to mean feeling the hurt of others, making it our own pain, and being a companion in the struggles that others are facing. That's hard. We all have our own pain and struggles. How many of us willingly take on those of others? The Dutch Catholic priest Henri Nouwen understood this. In his book, Compassion, A Reflection on the Christian Life, he wrote, "Let us not underestimate how hard it is to be compassionate. Compassion is hard because it requires the inner disposition to go with others to places where they are weak, vulnerable, lonely, and broken. But this is not our spontaneous response to suffering. What we desire most is to do away with suffering by fleeing from it or finding a quick cure for it." Now, obviously, our larger goal should be to alleviate suffering, and that's certainly part of how we think of compassion. It's a feeling of pity that motivates us to try to do something to alleviate the pain. How does suffering with someone help make the suffering go away? Doesn't that just mean that both of us are suffering at the same time? I'd argue that when you suffer with someone else, when you truly try to feel their lived experience and take on their pain and vulnerabilities, your perspective changes. You see more than just the suffering. You also see the things that are causing that suffering and that need to be changed, not just to alleviate it, to prevent it from happening again and to others. Over 40 years ago, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. called this shift in perspective a revolution of values, and he saw that it would make us rethink what it means to practice compassion. He said, "A true revolution of values will soon cause us to question the fairness and justice of many of our past and present policies. On the one hand, we are called to play the Good Samaritan on life's roadside, but that will be only an initial act. One day, we must come to see that the whole Jericho road must be transformed so that men and women will not be constantly beaten and robbed as they make their journey on life's highway. True compassion is more than flinging a coin to a beggar. It comes to see that an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring."
And to continue for a moment on the same vein, one of the things it takes for compassion is connection with other people. It takes reaching out. And we're going to do a song this morning called Building Bridges, and I emphasize the word building, because that too, reaching out, takes effort and sometimes a bit of doing. So if you would please rise as you're willing and able. And we are going to learn this little round pretty quickly, I think. It's called, let's have a pitch for me. I'm going to sing two of the lines, and then please you sing them back to me. Jean will help you do that. And then I'll sing the next two lines, and then with Jean's help, you will sing it back to me. Then we'll sing the whole thing twice, and then we'll try our round. Okay. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me?
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me?
With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Twice together, here we go.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we can make such a sweet harmony.
And now with me from the aisle over, here we go.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we can make such sweet harmonies. Friends, we can make such sweet harmony.
Good morning. I'd like to invite all the young and the young at heart to join me for a little experiment. Hi. Welcome. Hello. Thanks for joining me. Hi. Go ahead, sit right here. Thank you so much. What are these? Glasses. Do any of you wear glasses? Ooh, those are cool. I love those. How many of you out there wear glasses? Okay, that means everyone in the room has a chance just about to help in this experiment. So if you're wearing glasses, what I'd like to ask you to do is take them off for just a moment and allow someone else to wear your glasses. And I'm going to have some of you do that too. So Alex, do you want to try these ones on? Sophia? Would you like to try these? Yeah, go ahead. Why are all of you cleaning your glasses? Okay, now switch them. Okay, now give them back, because that person probably needs their glasses. Okay, yeah, go ahead and just try on those glasses. How many of you went like this? A little fuzzy, right? Okay, so raise your hand if your vision changed, if it was different when you put on the other glasses. All right. So some of you are wearing glasses. Some of you are wearing contact lenses. Anyone contact lenses? How many of you have had like LASIK surgery to correct vision? Yeah? How many of you are in denial about your eyesight? And refuse to wear anything? That would be me. So I'm going like this at work. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I can be fine. What about the lens that we all wear that we cannot see? The lens that we cannot see or feel or sometimes even be aware of. Well, let me tell you a quick story. So my partner Dave and I have been going through a remodel for about a year and a half. How many of you have gone through a remodel with a partner? Are any of you still together? Congratulations. It's really hard. It's really hard to change a whole house. And we're at the point, thank you, we're at the point where we're now looking at paint colors for the outside of the house. And one day we were standing out in our driveway and we're looking at it. And right now the house has a color on it that just came from the siding. So we didn't pick it, it's just the color of the siding. And some of our neighbors had told us they really like that color. So we're standing up there, we're looking at it, and we're like, yeah, it looks pretty good. Maybe we should just paint the house the same color it is right now. And Dave goes, yeah, you know, I kind of like that green. And I look at him, and I look at the house, and I look back at him, and I said, you mean gray, right? And he goes, no, green. I said, no, it's gray. That's a gray house. Gray, gray. And he goes, no, it's really green. You know. So we're standing there in the driveway, debating about the color of the house, right? This is how we should all spend our time. And, you know, after a few minutes in very polite, civil conversation, we're not being mean to each other, we decide to disagree. He thinks the house is green. I think the house is gray. But all the while, in my head, I'm thinking there's something seriously wrong with this person. Because clearly, I am right. Of course I'm right? I'm right. It's gray. And naturally, what do I do after that? I collect evidence to make sure that I'm right. So I go to Sophia, my daughter, excellent understanding of color. I'm like, Sophia, the house is gray, right? And she's like, oh yeah, totally. I'm like, see? And then I take pictures of the house just in case I happen to be with a family member that I might want to move her. The house is really gray, right? So I'm thinking of all these things, not telling him, by the way, that I'm doing all this. And then one day, Sophia and I are out walking our dogs. We're just walking around the neighborhood, and we go through a loop. And we come to the street where you can actually see through the houses. And I look over across the fences. I'm like, that house looks just like ours, but it's kind of green. And I was like, and I'm looking at it, and there's words coming into my head like this, you know, just words coming, and I realize at a certain time of day, and in a certain light, our house looks green. And I said that out loud and realized that Sophia was standing right next to me. And then I look at her, and what do I say? Don't tell Dave. So what's interesting is, again, I think that we all wear a lens, but not like this, right? A different lens that you cannot see. And that lens that you can't see, you can't touch, you don't even know you're wearing it, tells us something about the world. Sometimes it tells us what color a house is, right? But really it tells us a lot of things. Like if you go to Silverwood, have any of you gone to Silverwood before? Or if you go to the state fair, sometimes we might look at a roller coaster and be like, that's the most fun thing ever, I can't wait to go on that roller coaster. And maybe, yeah, and then puts you upside down. And other people look at that roller coaster and they're like, no way, no thank you. Right, so why is it that some of us look at one thing and we get excited and happy, and other people look at another thing and they get scared, right? Or why is it that we look at issues that are going on in our world and some of us see it in a very positive light, good thing happening, and others of us see it in a very different way? We all have this lens. We just don't know that we're wearing it. So thank you for those moments when we're able to take off our lens and give it to someone else and say, this is the way I see the world. And it's a beautiful thing when you're able to say, thank you so much. I'm going to try on that lens and try to see it the way that you see it. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. And we're now going to light our chalice. So let's light our chalice as we go out to children's time.
So we light this second chalice, so that as our children and youth go to their chapels, they carry the light of our flame with them. May it illuminate, inspire, and warm you as it does us.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this church and its mission in the wider world.
May the long time sun shine upon you, all surround you, and the pure light within you, guide your way home, guide your way home, guide your way home. May the long time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you, guide your way home, guide your way home, guide your way home. May the long time sun shine upon you, all around surround you, and the pure light within you, guide your way home,
Thank you so much. Each time we gather as a congregation, there are always those who are with us in our minds and hearts and who we want to wrap in our love and care. We can delight this morning for the people in the Bahamas and elsewhere who are suffering devastation and loss in the wake of Hurricane Dorian, and for everyone working to rescue those still in danger and to help restore safety and security to those affected. We also hold in our hearts the people of Nova Scotia and elsewhere who are still in the path of the hurricane or suffering its devastation. I also want to light a candle this morning for the friends and family of Diana McDonnell, a longtime member and bright light of our congregation who passed away recently. Diana had been living in California for a number of years, so we have missed her for a while. We will continue to miss her presence here among us, and we hold her family and friends in our hearts this morning. Let's now share a moment in silence, embracing others who are here in our hearts this morning. You're welcome to say their names aloud if you're willing. Those named aloud, and those remembered in the silence, and all those who are suffering elsewhere in our world this hour, we hold in our community of compassion. There are a number of opportunities for meditation in our service this morning. This is the one we regularly schedule for some silent meditation. We don't have a reading this morning, so at the close of the meditation, I'll ring the gong, and then we'll move into the musical interlude after that. But so feel free to prepare yourself as you wish for a period of silent meditation. Sit up, close your eyes if you'd like, take a breath. The words to take us into meditation this morning are from Pema Chodron, principal teacher at Gampo Abbey in Nova Scotia. Compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. It's a relationship between equals. Only when we know our own darkness well can we be present with the darkness of others. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity.
The Gayatri mantra is a mantra for peace, and we chant it to relieve suffering from all sentient beings. If you know the mantra, you can sing along or chant along with me. Om. Tatsaviturbharaniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsaviturbharaniyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi
It is indeed my great pleasure to welcome back to our church Venerable Thubten Chodron. As I mentioned, Venerable Chodron is the founder and abbess of Sravasti Abbey, one of the first Tibetan Buddhist training monasteries for Western nuns and monks in the United States. The abbey was founded in 2003 with one nun, Venerable, and 2 cats. In the intervening years, it has grown to be a vibrant community where residents and visitors can learn and practice the ancient teachings of the Buddha. Before being ordained as a Tibetan Buddhist nun in 1977, Venerable Chodron graduated from UCLA and did graduate work in education at USC. She studied extensively with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and written extensively with His Holiness, as well as with Tenzat Serkong Rinpoche and Kyabche Zopa Rinpoche. She received full ordination as a bhikshuni in 1986. Venerable Chodron has published many books on Buddhist philosophy and meditation, many of which are available, as I mentioned, back in the Friendship Hall. She's currently co-authoring with His Holiness the Dalai Lama a multi-volume series of teachings on the Buddhist path called The Library of Wisdom and Compassion. The 4th volume, following in the Buddha's footsteps, will be published in October of this year. She teaches literally all over the world and all over the inland Northwest, so we're very fortunate that she has the time and is willing to bring her warm and personal interpretations of Buddhist philosophy and wisdom to our sanctuary. Please help me welcome Venerable Chodron.
So I must say I find these introductions very boring. You know, as if I were all those things that people say. You know, I'm not any of them. So in the first service, I was talking a little bit about how we start out with beautiful songs about harmony, like we did today, and beautiful talk about compassion, and how warm and fuzzy it makes us feel. Yeah, because we all have the same values, and we all want harmony and compassion. And then we start and think, well, what is it that hinders this? What's the thing that keeps it from running smoothly? And in our usual way of looking at things, it's very clear what keeps things from running smoothly and why we can't get along with each other. Yeah, and I think you'll agree with me that the reason for the disharmony is because others are crazy. Yeah, starting with the president on down. Oh dear, I'm impolite. You know, UU is the only place I can talk like this. Even at the Abbey, they warn me, oh, be careful what you say. Not everybody thinks alike. Well, yeah, that's true. Not everybody thinks alike, but that's because other people are wrong. Yeah. If they thought like me, they would be right, and then we would all get along. Okay, don't you agree? Yeah? Okay, so as long as we're clear that whatever I think is right, then we can have harmony, right? So not only do I only think things that are right, but I also have to have the last word in any discussion. That's code for argument. Okay? So, as long as we have that clear, that I'm the center of the universe, and that whatever I think is right, and that I'm going to win all the arguments, and that eventually, you will give up your stubbornness and do things my way and believe what I believe. And then we will live happily ever after, like the songs and the words tell us. Right? Got that right? Yeah, good. You are people are good. Yeah. So just don't open your mouth and say anything, and then everything will go well. Yeah, because the problem is, as we all know, that not everybody thinks alike. And that we have different glasses that we see things through. So we know that, and that's very well and good, but we're still the right one. Aren't we? Yeah. So in our personal relationships, with that partner that you're doing the remodel on, with oops. Well, maybe you're remodeling your partner too in the process, right? To become more like you, to get to know that the house really is great. Okay. So, where was I? Yeah. So, we keep thinking that, everybody has to think alike and believe the same thing in order to get along. Yeah. And I think that idea is one of the ideas that makes us not get along. Because that idea that we must all value, we must all see things the same way, we must all do things the same way, that value is so completely against the reality of human life, isn't it? Yeah, we think differently, we eat different food. You go to a buffet, some people like rice, some people like noodles. Yeah. Some people like vegetables, some people don't. Some people like chili. Yeah. So, in the reality is, we all need to eat. So, it's like if we can have common values that we all want to be happy and none of us want to suffer. And then what we eat is up to our personal taste. So what we find happiness in, what causes us suffering, that's also something that's quite individual. So thinking that we all need to believe the same thing, or we all need to do things the same way, is really a big impediment to harmony. And I point that out because that's one of the things in religion that people do the most to try and create harmony, is to say, but it all comes to the same point. And in the essence, it's all the same. And I remember hearing the story of His Holiness Dalai Lama and one Catholic priest, who he's very close to, whose name I can't remember at the moment. And they were doing some presentation together, and the Catholic priest said, our religions, there's different theology, but basically everything comes to the same point. And His Holiness said, no. And went on to explain that, no, there's actually some big philosophical differences between Buddhism and theistic religions. But that doesn't mean we can't get along. Okay? So let's throw out the idea that everybody needs to think like me in order to get along, and try experimenting with the idea of, I need to open my mind to accept the diversity of views. So this happens not only among different religions, but in a family, in a congregation, everywhere. Yeah. as soon as you have two human beings, you have at least two opinions, usually more. And when you have one human being, you usually have two opinions too, because we change our mind a lot, and we're often not clear on what we really believe. Yeah. So as soon as we can bring that kind of acceptance, even of ourselves and how much we change what we believe, then maybe there will be some acceptance that other people can have different ideas and do things different way. So that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good. Until we start to talk to each other. And then I need to convince you that the way what I believe is the right way. Yeah? But you don't like me trying to convince you of that, even though I'm right. Okay? And so then you think that I'm mean and bossy. And I think that you don't listen to me. And then the conflict goes to another level. Often conflict starts out about a particular topic. Yeah, you do this and I don't agree, or you think this and I don't agree. And that's the initial part of the conflict. Then when we start talking, we don't communicate very well. And the way we communicate then becomes the topic of conflict. Okay? Because I'm just trying to express myself and you always interrupt and cut me off. Okay? How many times does that get said in American marriages every day? Yeah. And all you want to do is talk. Yeah, why don't you do something useful, like the dishes? Yeah, that gets said a lot too. Okay. And then the conflict just escalates, because people don't listen to me, they don't understand me. One side's saying that. And the other side is saying, these people just babble on, they're so emotional, why don't they shut up and do things my way? Right? Yeah? So this is often the way things go. And the conflict just escalates because of it. I have a little story that I call the peanut butter story that often illustrates this. Okay, so you sit down for breakfast with your partner one day, and you usually have peanut butter, with your toast. But there's no peanut butter that day. And so you say to your partner, honey, there's no peanut butter. And your partner goes, yeah, it's no big deal. Well, I eat peanut butter every day with my breakfast. I really like to have peanut butter. Well, just eat cheese instead. Look, you know that peanut butter is very important to me. And you also know that it's your week to do the grocery shopping. And you didn't buy peanut butter. Look, it's no big deal. Why are you making such a big deal about peanut butter? It's nothing. Well, actually, the peanut butter is something. Because I think you're being passive-aggressive. Because you know how peanut butter is important, and you are deliberately not buying the peanut butter, and then pretending that you just forgot. Look, why are you making such a big deal? This is nothing. Anyway, when it's your turn to go to the grocery store, you know that I like raspberry jam, and you don't get that. Yeah. So who's the passive-aggressive one? You are. We've been married 25 years, and this has been going on a long time, and I'm really fed up. Well, I am too. Because you don't do anything I want. You're always trying to, compete with me and undermine me. And for 25 years, I've been going through all of this. I can't stand it anymore. Neither can I. I want a divorce. Yes, let's go. I'm fed up too. Okay, so it started out about peanut butter. Started out about peanut butter, didn't it? But we dig in our heels about every issue because we are right and the other person's wrong. And our ideas are the right ones, and they don't know what they're talking about. And then we push back on the other person until finally, it's like, okay, let's get a divorce. It's really sad, isn't it? I think that's incredibly sad when that happens. And yet it happens all the time, and whenever it happens, it's always the other person's fault. Isn't it? Yeah. We never do anything to contribute to the disharmony. Not us. We're nice people. Yeah. We always buy the peanut butter. We always buy the raspberry jam. We don't contribute to any of this nonsense. We don't stir things up among a group of people. We don't gossip behind people's back. We don't criticize them because they believe something different than I do, even though those poor people don't know how wrong they are. Okay? So I think this is our problem, that we always think the cause of our misery lies outside of ourselves without realizing our role in it. And of course, we think the solution is the other person has to change. Yeah. How likely is that? Yeah. We have all this wonderful sage advice that we give them to improve the quality of their life, and if only they followed it, we would all live in harmony, like the song said. But they don't do what we want. And we push, and they still don't do it. And you know what? We can't control them. We try very hard. Yeah, we got Sophie to agree with us. Yeah. So we get our friends to agree with us. We get our family to agree with us. We get other people that we know to agree with us, that those people are wrong. Yeah. And that doesn't change anything. It just gets everybody more, it just builds up the antagonism between people. Mm-hmm. So the only one we can ever really control is ourselves. And that's really hard enough. Okay, during those few minutes of silent meditation, was there anybody who didn't get distracted? Yeah, our own mind is all over the place. Thinking about this, thinking about that. Yeah. But the only thing that we really can change, that will make a difference, is our own thoughts, our own emotions, our own actions. But those are usually the last things that we look at when there's conflict, because it's always other people that are wrong. and their ideas that are wrong. Okay? And so we get really stuck. We get really stuck. Because the big problem is they think the same thing as we do. They think that we're wrong and that our ideas are wrong. And of course, that just shows how stupid they are. But the problem is, again, they think that shows how stupid we are. So we hold on to our opinion. We hold on to our ideas because we think my opinion is me. My ideas are me. If somebody criticizes my ideas, they don't like me. That means I'm a bad person. That means I'm a failure. We can't go there. So the solution is my ideas are right and everybody has to agree with them. In the Tibetan Buddhist monasteries, they do a lot of debate. Some of you may have seen it. Anybody seen it? Yeah, the monks and nuns now, they debate, one person sitting, one person standing. They talk really fast. And the person who's standing, throws out a statement, and the person who's sitting has to respond to it, whether they think it's correct or not correct, and then the challenger hits back at them, and they're talking really fast. And that poor person who's sitting down, they can't stand up. The other person who's standing up is saying their thing and going, wham! And clapping their hands and jumping around and screaming at each other. I'm serious. Go watch it someday in the monasteries. Yeah. And some of them get so into it, especially the boys. The girls are a little bit more demure. But the boys, and this is excellent thing for young men in their late teens and early 20s. Boy, it uses up their energy. But they're jumping around. They get so into the debate that one of them will come up and push the other one out and then take over the debate and start going, blah, 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 And this goes on and on. They do it for hours every night, okay? So why am I talking about this? Because they're debating ideas. And people see things differently. And one of the things that you learn when you're doing the debate is maybe your ideas aren't so clear. Maybe there's another way to see it that's a better way, that's more reasonable, that's more logical. Yeah. So you learn to challenge your ideas. You also learn to not be intimidated by somebody screaming at you, jumping around and clapping their hands in your face. Okay? You learn that that's just the way it's done. And that actually everybody's trying to help each other get to the truth of the matter. And if somebody amongst, in the classes gets a little bit arrogant because they're a very good debater and they can smash other people, then their teacher and their fellow classmates ridicule them and cut them down to shreds. Yeah, because arrogance about being right is seen as a quality that is hindering your spiritual practice. Okay? So then when your friends cut you down, you take it. Yeah, and you realize, oh, yes, humility is more important for a spiritual practitioner than having the last word. I talked to some friends who were having marital problems, and they went to a counselor, and the husband was going on and on about what the wife was doing. Of course, she was going on and on about what he was doing, but he was speaking more loudly. louder, and dominating the thing and refusing to budge until the counselor looked and said, you know, you can either be right or you can love her. Yeah? So what's more important to you? Being right or loving the person you love? Okay? So it's something to really make us think and to look inside of ourselves. Why do we need to be right? Why do we need to have the last word? Why do we need for everybody to think like we do in order to feel like we're okay? Yeah. When can we have, or how can we cultivate enough self-confidence to be able to fail, and enough self-confidence to admit that we're wrong, and enough self-confidence to apologize when we hang on to our own ideas and are part of making the divorce happen. Yeah. So I think this is, you know, if we want to have a spiritual path, this is something that's quite important. If you see the great spiritual leaders in the world, yeah, I don't think the really great ones are not going around saying, I'm right. And here's where you can put your offerings. Okay. You see some of them who insist that they're right. Yeah. And of course have their offering bowl very nearby. But I don't consider that somebody who's really spiritual. Yeah? Because I think it's the humility that is really indicative of spiritual practice, and a person who can listen to what other people think and what other people say. Somebody once said, we have one mouth and two ears, and that's indicative of what we need to do more of. Okay? So listening is, we usually think, oh, listening is very passive. It's not. When you listen, you are actively engaged in the discussion, because how you listen influences what the other person says and what the other person feels. Yeah? I'm talking to you right now. How you are reacting influences what I say. Yeah? I went to Google to give a talk. The audience had 3 people, but the audience was really the camera, because they were streaming it to everybody's desk because it was at lunchtime and they didn't have the time to come there. So I was talking to a camera. It drove me crazy. Yeah? Because everything happens in relationship to other people. So being the listener is not giving up your power. Being a listener, the listener is actually opening the door to understanding somebody. And when we listen, I know it's very tempting to interrupt because the other person's usually wrong and we want to correct them. But we need to control ourselves, so always have a roll of duct tape near. Put it over your mouth and then listen with your ears and with your heart. And if you ask questions, okay, but you can just take the duct tape off to ask the question, then you have to put it back on. But ask the question, so you can try and understand, why do you think like that? Tell me why you think like that, because I really want to understand. Tell me why you feel that way. Yeah, because I want to understand. I can't read your mind. I don't know what your needs are. Please tell me what your needs are. Please tell me how you see things. Because then that will help me understand. Yeah. And when we understand, we basically here's where we come to the same point, which is we all want happiness and none of us want to suffer. Yeah. So when we can listen with our hearts and open our minds to the fact that people have really different ideas and different ways of doing things, yeah, and work on our own intolerance, then we can at least inch our way a little bit towards the harmony. Okay, thank you.
Personally, it helps me to think of it more, I like more of a dance. So we're going to sing about a dance. Let's stand as we're willing and able to sing Let It Be a Dance, number 311.
Encourage you to join hands with one another for our closing words. Our closing words this morning come from Pema Chodron. Compassion practice is daring. It involves learning to relax and to allow ourselves to move gently toward what scares us. The trick to doing this is to stay with emotional distress without tightening into aversion, to let fear soften us rather than harden into resistance. Amen. Blessed be. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom.
Thank you, too. Thanks for coming.
At the Yodashala, if anybody wants to come and hear us play at the Yodashala in the Prairie District every